This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I have Brayand Ponciano on the line. He's in Arizona. He's a buy and hold guy, but I really like his attitude because he says, I don't like to work hard. I don't want to work hard. I'm probably one of the laziest guys you've ever met. And I love it because that's what drives him to make his business work without him. And then when he's accomplished that, so, for all you guys that are out there bragging about you work 24/7 or, you're going to burn out sooner or later. So you might want to pay attention to this podcast. Has a lot to do with mindset. I want to focus on that today. Before we get started, I'd like to pay homage to taxfreefuture.com. You're going to be astounded as to what your financial advisors are not telling you. You're going to be astounded as to why they're not telling you. We're going to tell you what they're not telling you, and then we're going to show you what you can do with tax-deferred and tax-free retirement vehicles and how you can use those to become very successful or retire early or to build a massive retirement. Taxfreefuture.com. Check it out. All right, Brayand, how you doing today?
I am fabulous, Mitch. Thank you for having me.
Man, I love your attitude. You say you like to travel a lot. You like to spend time with your family. But you do enjoy making money, right?
Yes, money is a tool. It's the grease that makes the wheels go round. And I like nice things. When I travel, I don't really like to spend time in a resort when I travel because to me, it's like a watered down version of the culture. So I'll get an Airbnb, I'll stay within the neighborhoods, I'll eat in the streets and all that stuff. But I like knowing, hey, I got money in the bank. So if this opportunity arises to jump on a helicopter or to take a tour or to do this, I don't have to go and check my bank account to see if I have enough money. I just say, sure, let's go do it. I love that freedom of it. So I do enjoy nice things, but I don't like working really hard. And being that I grew up immigrant, I'm not an immigrant. My parents were immigrants from Guatemala. English was not my first language. I grew up in the south side of Los Angeles, and all we knew growing up from a very poor perspective is if you wanted money, you must work hard. You must struggle. You must grind. You must hustle. Hell, my first tattoo is right across my heart. It says hustle. The second tattoo is right across my other side of the chest. It says grind. It was a reminder to me every single day that I saw in the mirror that I needed to work hard, bust my ass, bust my ass, bust my ass, bust my ass. And eventually I found out that that was not the right way to go because that is not a sustainable business model. You can't do that forever.
It also points out the problem with tattoos. Shit changes.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it. Now as an adult, I look at it and I say, okay, this is a reminder of how far I've come. I used to have this mentality where the only way for me to make money was to bust my ass. If I wanted more money, I had to work a lot harder. That is such a dumbass way to look at it, because when you look at any rich person out there, any millionaire, any billionaire out there, most of them, a large majority of them do not work hard. The very few of them that do, they're the exception to the rule. And most of the time they're selling some type of program or something where it benefits them to tell you how they work so hard. But that's not a sustainable business model because, as you know, we get older, our bodies get tired, we get married, we have kids, we have grandkids, we have friends, we have associates, we have hobbies, we have things that we want to do, and you just can't do that by hustling and bustling and hustling 24/7. That's just not the way it works in real world.
So I have a solution. Just put no more under each one of them. Right, no more. Hustle, no more. Yeah.
I love it because once again, it's a reflection of who I was and what I had.
I was joking with you, but yeah, sure. I mean, everyone's gone through that phase where they had that epiphany that I got to start working smarter, not harder. One is, I'm not that brilliant. I had to have my back painted in a corner, and I was almost to the breaking point where it was either I'm going to figure out how to not work so hard or I'm going to quit because I can't hold this weight up anymore. I'm trembling. So So let's talk about what is the mindset of being successful, but having balance.
Well, to make this as simple as possible, this boils down to one of two mindsets that you can have. You can either come from a mindset of abundance, or you can come from a mindset of scarcity. And the hustle, the work, the outdo your neighbor, the beat your enemy, that comes from a land of scarcity. If he has something, if Mitch is making money, somehow that's going to limit the amount of money that I'm making. So I have to feel bad every time Mitch money. I have to outwork Mitch. If I see Mitch making $100,000 a month, I have to make $120,000 a month because I can't let somebody like him beat me. That is, I know that people use that as motivation, but that's mental torture. And basically that comes from a land of scarcity. If he has, then I can't have. As opposed to something that I teach, which is the mindset of abundance, knowing that the universe is infinite, knowing that there's so much out there, so much money out there that you couldn't go through it all if you tried. That there's no way in hell that what Mitch is doing in San Antonio is affecting my business here in Phoenix, is affecting my business over in Cleveland. It just, there's so many properties, even other people doing stuff within our place. And that comes from that scarcity mindset. And the one thing that I do want to point out to people is that scarcity mindset has been programmed into you from the beginning. And a lot of times that's like your default programming. Have you guys ever, and Mitch, I'll ask you and I'll ask the audience, have you ever felt jealousy for no reason over somebody that you don't even know? You see some guy on social media post a 6-figure check and you're like, but then you stop and think about it and say, why did I even feel that way? Like, I don't even know this guy. I'm not a jealous person. This doesn't make any sense. That's your original
I've never been jealous. I've always admired it and looked at it like, if that man can do it, then I can do it, you know?
Yes. And that's the way
you don't have to wonder if it can be done anymore. It's like when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, you know, no one could break that barrier. Then he broke it, then everybody started breaking it. So it's almost,
it's a mental thing. When you come from the land of scarcity, you make up in your mind that this is the only way it's possible. So because of these tattoos that I had made up in my mind, the only way to make money is to work really, 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 really hard. And then I met a really rich guy who said, hey, BP, the less that I work, the more that I make. And I was like, you're lying to me. You're trying to keep the secret from me. Like, just tell me the truth. If you don't want to help me, just tell me you don't want to help me. And he said, no, the less that I work, the more that I make. And really at that point, it shook my mind to focus more on focusing on abundance, understanding that there's so much out there and there's so many different ways. Yes, working hard and going is a way to make money. It's one way to make money. And it's probably in my lifestyle and what I want to do with my family, it's the least desirable way to make money. But then I started meeting other people like Mitch and people that know how to create passive income. People that said, hey man, I'm actually making lots of money consistently without having to do anything. Then it started opening up my mind as, wow, there's all these possibilities, because I was looking at it from a mindset of abundance. I wasn't saying, well, Mitch has been doing this for 20 years. There's no way in hell that I can do it. I said, wow, if he can do it, then I can do it. If this works in a market like this, why wouldn't it work in a market like this? So I was able to take that mindset. And that's one thing that I really help people with, is helping them find that mindset of abundance and understanding that if anybody can do it, you can do it too. And there's always more than enough deals to go around. You don't have to fight. I don't have competition at all. Like, I don't compete with anybody. I don't have any animosity with anybody. I honestly work with everybody as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, people ask me, do you know so-and-so in your town? You know, they do all this. I said, no. I just head down and do my own thing. I don't really care what they do. I'm not competing against anyone. I'm trying to do better in my business than I did last year. That's all. You know, and that's enough. That's
Yes.
challenging enough. You know, if I don't want to do more volume, then how do I make it less chaotic for me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so working on one of those two things, like, you know, once it gets,
That's what I talk about with the people here. You know, part of the program, the Unfuck Your Mindset program, is it's you against you. It's always going to be you against you. And one of the things that you need to focus all your energy on is you. Just like you said, it doesn't matter who these people are. I've gone through the same thing. Because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, and I actually started investing outside of my market, I don't really care what goes on in my market. So I've been in different speaking events. I'm invited to on different stages where somebody's like, hey, so-and-so, he's crushing it. He's in Phoenix. You know that person, right? And I'm like, I've never heard about him. And it's not me trying to be big-headed or anything. I honestly never heard of him. But the big thing is that focusing on yourself. My mentor taught me a long time ago that when it comes to success, it's not about what you achieve, it's about who you become. The person that you have to grow yourself into to be able to achieve and maintain and sustain that level of success. Because it's not just getting there one time and, okay, I created passive income by buying and holding this one house. It's how do you sustain it? How do you grow that? And if you don't have the right mindset, you're never going to be prepared. You're never going to have the foundation to be able to build and grow on top of. And you need to have that correct mindset. But this is what I love about interacting and networking is that eventually you meet people like Mitch, you meet people like me, and you said, hey man, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that there was a way to make money without having to bust my ass. I didn't know that there was a way where you can set it and forget it and create something and even become the bank, which is what I love about what you're doing there, Mitch. Like you become the bank, and that is freaking amazing. That's what I'm working eventually into moving once I get to a certain number of rentals here in Cleveland, moving up to particularly becoming the bank and seller financing these things. Because when you go to any town, who has the biggest building in town? The bank.
That's what I'm talking about, taxfreefuture.com. You won't believe what your financial advisors aren't telling you. There's a ways you can self-direct your own money and make a better rate of return than they're ever going to offer you. Quit gambling in the stock market and that roller coaster ride, which you have no control over. You know,
and the thing is that your financial advisors don't know shit. Just to be 100% honest, they are salespeople. And I've known because I looked into becoming a financial advisor because I've been in sales since the age of 22. They're salespeople. They have commission. They are meant to sell you these products. They already have your preset. They already have your diagnosis and your medicine before they even come in and check up on you. Like that's really what they're doing. And a lot of times, most of these people don't even know that there's options like doing the stuff that Mitch was talking about, like creating tax shelters, like investing in alternative investments, like real estate. And that's where I work with my private investors on the real estate side of things. Same thing, help them come in to be able to leverage the stuff that their financial advisors don't tell them. And I will tell you here, once again, guys, this all goes back to mindset. You were taught from a very young age, you must invest your money in the stock market. You were taught from a very young age, only listen to your financial advisor. You were taught at a very young age to save your money in a savings account. Go ahead, Mitch.
I got one for you. But I was talking to some financial advisors and I said, you know, people can just loan me money and I'll pay them better than what y'all are paying them. I'll pay better than the banks. I may or may not pay better than the stock market on any given day, but you'll know what you're going to make, and it's way above average. You know what I mean? Yep. They said, yeah, but you're kind of an alternative investment. I said, when did putting your money on a piece of paper on a roller coaster ride become traditional, and loaning money to your neighbor on his good business become the other business? I said, you guys got it all turned around. My business was here way before the stock market was here. Yep. People loaned to each other based on integrity and collateral way before there was a stock market.
And when that collateral is
now they're calling my business
hard asset.
Now they're calling my business the alternative. That's how screwed up it is.
Yeah. But the thing is that when that collateral is a hard asset that produces cash flow, that's the great thing. You know, because you have a similar system that I have with your private lenders. If I were to disappear, if I were to get hit by a bus, guess what? You get to keep this property. And by the way, because you are my bank, you didn't lend me at 100% of what the property's worth. In my case, I don't leverage them more than 70% of what the property's worth. So they're already getting it at a discount, and it's already cash flowing. It's already bringing them a crazy investment. Plus, out of that, I always make sure that my rental or my rent rates are about double what my interest payments are going to be to my lenders, to make sure that if anything ever happens, they walk into an awesome situation. And if they don't like that house, it's already bought at a discount, so they can actually fire sell it and get that money back or continue collecting the rents. That right there, to me, is a much better investment than put your money in there. Let's shake those dice and see, did I get, oh, my stock went down. Oh.
Or it went up. Do I get out now, or is it going to go up more? Is it going to go up more? I think I'll stay in. You know, I put money in the stock market one time for about 60 days. I couldn't stand it. The anxiety of what did it do now?
Yep.
Just killed me.
And to me, it became very, very clear. I already knew it, but the movie just made it that much more brighter. You ever watch that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street? I'm sure you have. He's having lunch he had just passed this test, and he's having lunch with the Matthew McConaughey character, right? And the guy's all coked up and drinking highballs and stuff. And anyway, he's talking about, what's the number one rule for there? And the Leonardo DiCaprio character, who was new and green, said, making these investors money. And the other guy said, nah, fuck the investors. It's all about keeping their money in. So when the market goes up, you call them to put it in. When the market goes down, you tell them to buy more to keep money in. They didn't care about the investors. They just cared about their commission. And that's what I try to tell people, that most financial advisors, with very rare exception, most financial advisors are only there to push what's best for them because they're a salesperson. So if you are looking for alternatives, you definitely want to check out the site that Mitch put out there, because it's a great way for you to understand that there's a whole different world out there. And this is what I love about what I do when I talk about mindset, because people only understand what they were taught, which is a very limited, narrow way. You go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you go get a job, you get a pension, you invest in the stock market, you retire, everything goes. The problem is that hasn't worked out for a lot of people, for actually the large majority of people. But because we've been ingrained from the beginning, we only see that as happening. So I love letting people know that there's so many different ways in all aspects of your life, including how you think money. It takes one of the biggest misconceptions. It takes money to make money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I could have looked at you, Mitch, and I could be like, well, Mitch, he's an older white guy and he's rich. And of course it's easy for him to come money. I'm a brown guy who from Guatemala and from Los Angeles. Nobody's going to give me money. I don't have any money. My parents don't have any money. That means that I could never invest in real estate because I don't have any money. That is not correct. It doesn't take money to make money. My mentor taught me a long time ago that it takes creativity to make money.
Yeah, when you don't have money,
if it takes money, it doesn't have to be your own money.
I did a course called Private Money Changes Everything. I have $24 million of private, over 36 private individuals, average Joes, doctors, lawyers, old retired people that had a pension from GE or AT&T or whatever, and they're not anything special. They're just average people that did pretty well or saved or are doing well in their profession. And I didn't go to college. And in my course, Private Money Changes Everything, the first thing you got to do is dress mindset. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're pink, yellow, green. It doesn't matter if you're tall, fat, or skinny. It doesn't matter if you speak the language well or broken English. It doesn't matter, because no one cares. It doesn't matter if you're 18 years old or you're 59 years old and established. 18 years old with no reputation. And, you know, Charles Manson should be able to get this money. That's my famous little example. Charles Manson should be able to call the warden and go, "Warden, I need $50,000 loan." The warden calls him back and says, "Hey, you know," over the intercom in the jail, "Manson, go screw yourself." No, hey, warden, I'll give you $120,000. I'll give you a first lien on $120,000 house. I just need $60,000 in a first lien position. If I don't pay you, you can have my property. I mean, the warden's back on the speaker. "All right, everybody get their guns drawn. We're pulling Manson out, and don't give him a pencil till you have the hammer drawn back." You know.
One of the biggest struggles that I learned or that I had to overcome in real estate investing was when I got to the point of having to raise money. Because growing up as a poor kid, one of the things that you were taught and beat over your head all the time was, don't ask for money. Don't ask me for money. Don't ask me for shit. Don't look at shit. Don't touch shit because we ain't gonna buy nothing. So when it came to lending money for real estate, it actually, initially I felt bad when I was asking people for money because I felt like I was bothering them. It wasn't until I changed my mindset and I understood and I shifted from, I'm not bothering these people. I'm actually presenting them with an opportunity that they wouldn't have anywhere else, because most people don't know where to make 8%, 9%, 10% return on their money. Most people don't even know how to do that actively if they were taking their money and actively investing in the stock market. Hell, most people, even less than that, know how to make it passively. Means that they're not even doing absolutely anything. So when I learned how much banks were paying, when I learned how much people were actually averaging in the stock market after fees from their financial advisors and everybody else, I started to realize, hey, I'm not bothering people. I'm actually giving them an opportunity. And it took a quick shift of the mindset. That's why I love in that program that you just mentioned, how your first lesson was changing your mindset, because it's really that quick switch. And it's the same situation. You still need money. You're still asking somebody for money. But in this case, you're not asking them because you're actually presenting them with an opportunity. And because it's such a good deal, they should be able to be like, duh, of course it makes sense.
There's actually ways to do it without even asking, until they just have to ask you, "Can I be the guy that loans you money?" There's a way to do it. Like if I want you to come work for me, and you work for you, say if you worked for my competitor and I really wanted you to come work for me, I wouldn't call you up and try to poach you directly. I wouldn't say, "Hey, Brian, you want to come work for me? I'll pay you $10,000 more than what you're making now." I would call you and say, "You know, I really need someone like you. Is there someone you know that's like you, that would like to make about," then I'll name a number that I know is about $10,000 that would like to make, you know, $55,000, $60,000 a year, because I need someone like you. Who do you know? It poses the question. I mean, I don't have to ask you if you want to take the job. If you want the job, you're going to tell me. So what I did in that course, Private Money Changes Everything, was did exactly what you said. Stop begging for money, because you're helping people. These people are making 2% in CD rates, if that. They're gambling in stock markets every day, and you don't know what they're going to make. They might lose everything. Pandemic, case in point, you know, it seems like it's coming back, but some people got out because they sheer panic. So who knows? So there are ways to get yourself in positions to explain your business, and there's ways to phrase things in your explanation that will pose the question to them, "Would you like to be one of these guys?" And so you can even take the onus of even having to ask off, even though asking's not bad. But yeah, stop begging for money. Start showing.
It's a change of mindset, because when you think you're bugging people and you think you're asking for money, for a lot of people that were like me, that grew up without any money, it becomes, you know, it generates all these old feelings, all these old emotions that our parents said, don't ask for money. So you feel like you're bothering people, and that makes you feel. So Mitch, if I was approaching you to raise private money and I'm like, Mitch, you know, I got a thing, and you know, I was kind of like wondering if maybe you can, I'm coming out of a place of unconfidence. Like, I don't think I kind of feel bad for asking you money, as opposed to, hey, Mitch, check this out. I got this opportunity. I got this property that's worth 120,000. I need 50,000 to close on it. You can get first position. I'm paying something like this, blah, 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 blah. Does that sound like something you would be interested in? Great. Awesome. No. Great. Do you know somebody who might be interested in? Sure. That it comes from a whole different place. It's the same scenario. And this is really why I've been, even though I still actively invest in real estate, I stopped talking about real estate. I stopped coaching people in real estate. Even when I do public speaking or when I do on my podcast or interviewed on other people's podcasts, I generally stop talking about real estate because I realized that it all stems from here. When I went from a guy placing signs in the streets to a guy actually doing wholesaling, it all started here. When I started wholesaling multiple properties consistently a month, it all started here. When I went and took down my first property and I got my first hard money loan and my first private money loan, it all started here. When I went to 15 houses at a time, continuously flipping and going everything, it all started here. Then I went into fix and flip, multifamily, and everything else has just been a twitch of what's in here. As soon as I find that little tune and I change that perspective on the mindset, it allows me to move into it. And I know for a fact that learning how to raise money completely shifted my perspective, shifted my business, shifted the trajectory of my generations, for my family to come for generations and generations, just by learning that one particular skill. But I did realize, at least from my end, that it all started with up here once I changed my thinking, that I'm not bothering these people. I'm actually giving people an opportunity.
Yeah, one of the best books I ever read for me, one of the books that helped me the most, one of them, there was several, but one of them was Psycho-Cybernetics by Maltz, which is now being continued by a girl named Somers, S-O-M-E-R-S. And it was just saying, the person that we talk to the most is ourselves. Our self-talk is critical. What are you saying to yourself? Because whatever you're saying to yourself is what's going to happen. The whole thing from the top of our head down to the bottom of our toes is geared to get whatever's in here done. Whatever that is.
Yep.
So there's a way.
I've just so happened to have it here. This is not my book. This is just a book that I've been studying, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Now, I say this because I've been, people said I've read this book. Yes, I've read the book too, but I've been studying this book for the last 10 years. My personal mindset coach is childhood friends with the guy that wrote that book. And one of the things that I like is right over there, the second thing, it says mastering the inner game of wealth. So in the book, he basically talks about your mind and how that relates to wealth. And he calls it a financial blueprint, financial thermostat, meaning that if your financial blueprint is to make $80,000 a year, you will always make right around $80,000 a year, no matter how hard you work, no matter what goes on. Now, all that blueprint was created by stuff that happened, what you heard, what you saw, and what you experienced growing up as a kid. Your parents had a lot to do with that, and the society had a lot to do with that, and they basically create you to be a certain way. Now, most people, when they have that thermostat, the blueprint, it's pretty much set. And unless you change the blueprint, it doesn't matter what type of fixes you make to the house, you're always going to get the same type of result. So in that book, he basically talks about adjusting it. And I really like it because he talks about 17 different ways that rich people think differently than poor people. For example, rich people believe that their money works hard for them, where poor people believe that they have to work hard for their money. And those are just mental beliefs. And just like you were talking about it, in your talk, in your self-talk, if you start always telling yourself, I have to work hard, 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 situations are going to arise to prove that you have to work hard for your money.
One of the things people talk about, I'm going to start a business. I say, how easy is this business to automate? How easy is it for someone else to run this? How easy? Because you don't want to get yourself a job that you have to run 100 miles an hour every day to keep it up afloat or to grow it. like be careful what businesses you go into, because it's really easy to get on a hamster wheel with a bunch of employees and payroll. And I did it before, in my previous life. I was running to make payroll every Friday, and it was enough to give you a freaking heart attack.
I would shoot myself. One of my favorite sayings of all time: the only thing worse than going down the wrong road is going down the wrong road enthusiastically. Being Mitch 20 years ago, or however long ago that was, where you were gun-ho to create the business, and then you had the employees, and before you know it, you had built your own prison. You have surrounded yourself into this hellhole that you're now struggling every single Friday to make payroll.
With your dignity or your integrity. You could have worked out, but then you shorted everybody, you shorted the bank, you ruined your good name, which was not an option.
No.
So I had to hang in there and like whittle it down. And by the time I finally could close that thing with any dignity, I was fried.
Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that people don't understand. And this is why I'm very adamant about what we started this conversation with, which is working smart, not hard. Because when you work hard, you're too busy working hard to see what's going down the line. You're so busy with your head down in the grindstone, you can't see. And this is where my mentor has taught me to be strategic, not tactical. Because tactical is the people actually doing the work. Strategic is the person that sits back and oversees and says, think, let me see, if I dig a tunnel here, how is that going to go 5 steps down the line? Which is why I'm a big, big advocate for people. And I just something that I loved doing as a kid, but I still practice as an adult, playing chess. Because it forces you to think 5 steps ahead. It forces you to be strategic. So when you're too busy grinding and hustling and busting your ass every single day, you can't see where this business is going. And eventually you end up at the point where Mitch is at, because I'm just like you, Mitch, in the sense that my word is my bond. I am not going to fuck up my name. If I said I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it come hell or high water. I remember my brother once told me, man, you're a man of your word, even when it doesn't benefit you. And to me, that was the biggest compliment.
That's how you get
exactly.
When you have a good partner, when things going sideways and people got to bring checks, and pay in, and not you have to make anything, you're going to lose money. That's when you know the integrity of your partner or your business associates, or when your bank knows, that guy wasn't too smart on that last move. He lost his ass, but boy, he showed up like a man. He showed up like a man.
There's a certain benevolence to be able to fall, break your face, say, man, I fucked up. Let's not do that again. Get back up and move forward. But one of the things that I try to teach my students is, instead of bragging that you fell down 9 times and got up 10, how about you learn not to fall in the first place? How about you learn not to bust your face every other year?
Some of us are slow learners, Brian.
Some of us are. And honestly, I was a slow learner. I'm a Taurus. And honestly, I don't believe in astrology, but after dating so many women that are really into it, they started beating it. And one of the things they told me about Taurus is that we're very stubborn. And I said, you know what? I am extremely stubborn. So it took me a long time to realize this. But now that I realized it, I said, why? Okay, so we all have a finite amount of energy, meaning that you don't have an infinite source of energy. At some point, you're going to get tired. At some point, you're going to need to take a nap. At some point, you're going to need to take a break. At some point, you need some type of leisure time because you're just going to go crazy. You cannot burn the candle at both ends for a very long period of time. So if you don't have that set in your mind, you're never, ever, ever going to be satisfied with anything. You're never going to get anywhere because you're constantly thinking that's not enough. It's never, ever going to be enough. It's never going to be sufficient. And that right there, guys, is what I call mental torture.
Yeah. So I'm unclear. Do you teach anything? Are you mentoring? Are you looking for students, or do you want to talk to someone about what you're offering, or you just, it's perfectly fine if you're not offering anything. It's actually,
Yeah. So I used to teach people in real estate, as I mentioned, and eventually I got out of that mainly because I realized that everybody's mindset was fucked up. So I decided to create a program, and I went through my personal journey as to how I was able to unwind my mindset. And I called the program Unfuck Your Mindset. As of right now, we are still in pre-launch mode. So I'm currently running beta testers. We should be ready to launch here in the next month or so. And I know that I gave you a special link for your audience where we're going to be giving access. So it's a 12-month program, 52 modules. Every single week you get a new program with homework and everything. And I drip it out purposely 1 week at a time because I want you to truly understand and take this information and learn it. I just don't want to give you a bunch of information, have you binge watch it over a weekend, and then you completely forget what you learned and you don't apply any of this.
But a lot of people get overwhelmed too. It's about part of what a good coach does or a good program will do is it'll keep you from getting overwhelmed, or it'll try to help you from not getting overwhelmed. And by giving the weekly doses, it's that's what I tell people when I'm coaching them in the real estate thing. It's like, let's just worry about what we're going to do the next 10 days. Don't worry about how to sell a note. You don't even have a note right now. Let's just worry about how to find a house. Okay.
People are notorious for wanting to run before they know how to crawl.
Yeah. So this is cool.
You said it right. As a coach, it's your job to pace them. So I just did what worked for me, which was on a weekly basis. I got taught by my mentor 60 minutes, 90 minutes on a weekly basis. We went over the same information. That's the way that I created my course. So I gave you a special offer for your people where they're going to be able to get the first 30 days of the course for free. So you'll put that on the information.
Yeah. So I want everyone to go to ariinvestorsummit.com/change mindset. Change mindset. And
I want to remind you guys here that regardless of what business you're in, regardless of what portion you may be in real estate, but you may be a wholesaler, you may be a fix and flipper, you may be a developer, you may be a multifamily person. It doesn't matter what you're in or what you want to be in. The only thing that's stopping you is you. You are your biggest asset and you're your biggest enemy. There's a saying that I love to say, you are the cure, but you are also the cancer. And one of my favorite books of all time is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu says that if you know yourself and you know your enemy, which in this case is your mind, you will be victorious out of 100 battles. So you have to get to know yourself. And that's why I created the course to help you get out of your way. Because whether we came from a good family, a bad family, whether we were middle class, lower class, upper class, for the large majority of us, most of us were brought up with a really fucked up mindset, which is why I'm very, very passionate about the Unfuck Your Mindset movement. I created a Facebook group called Unfuck Your Mindset Community, which is free. And it's basically just for people to be around other individuals that are looking to unwind the crap that was taught to them by society, by teachers, by their parents, that tried as best as they could. They just didn't know any better in the ways of money, in the ways of happiness, in the ways of wealth, in the ways of success. And Mitch, like you notice here, I'm actually redoing my office. I used to have all these vision boards and stuff many years ago, and I stopped giving a crap of all that. Right now, I only have 3 goals that I go after. I want financial freedom, I want time freedom, and I want peace of mind. And if any real estate deal that I do or any venture that I do doesn't give me all 3 of these or takes away from anything of these, I don't do it. That's the only thing that I'm focused on. And luckily for me, real estate, cash flowing real estate, creative real estate has been an amazing tool for me to generate that lifestyle for me and my family.
And isn't it amazing when you only accept what you want to accept, it starts to show up, right?
Yes, sir.
It has to meet these 3 requirements. Then you start focusing your advertisement, your whole world towards those 3 things. And lo and behold, it starts showing up. Where did it all start? It all started right there.
It was about like 3 years ago when I started telling people I want to make a lot of money without working. And initially the people that I told laughed. And then eventually I met people that were making a lot of money without working. And they said, hey, come here, let me teach you what I'm doing. And eventually I started meeting more people and more people. And now I don't even really talk to people that are out there grinding and hustling. I'm only really surrounding myself with people that are making a lot of money with a little bit of effort, because that's what I want. And just like you said, when you narrow down what you want, and I'm just focusing on these 3 things, these things are appearing in my life more and more and more frequently. Really
cool. I appreciate you taking the time to be on. Go to ariinvestorsummit.com /change mindset. Check out Brayand Ponciano and see what he's got to offer. I'm sure we'll have the contact information. Anything, it's evergreen, Brayand. So if you want to add anything in there, or you want, you got speaking engagements or whatever, you can change it anytime you want. Just have your people call my people, and they'll bring it up to date, and so people can see what you're up to on any given moment. I appreciate you being on. I'd like to thank taxfreefuture.com for being the sponsor. Please check out taxfreefuture.com. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you.
Please do. Please do. Please do. All right, Mitch, I appreciate what you do. I love your business model, and I love what you're offering to your investors. I truly believe that that's a much, much, much better alternative, especially in these trying times. God knows what's going to happen with the stock market, but the one thing that we all know, and we all know for sure, is that people aren't going to stop having kids, and people aren't going to stop needing a place to live. That's where cash flowing real estate and having a hard asset comes into play. So yes, Mitch, I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on the show. And what I am going to do is I'm going to have you on my podcast, the Unfuck Your Mindset podcast, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into your mindset. So
cool. All right. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by to get you some Brayand Ponciano, and I hope you're achieving your goals, and I hope you're paying attention to what you're saying to yourself and what you're asking for, because you're going to get whatever that is. Be careful. All right. We're out of here.